take the wearables category, okay? So first off, just in general, in 40 years to have developed the Mac, to have developed the iPod, to have developed the iPhone, which is in some respects sort of downstream from the iPod, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and throw the iPad in there too, which is certainly derivative of the iPhone. Remarkable to have 4 category defining devices, industry changing devices in 40 years in the grand fullness of time is actually pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, Apple's innovation's dead. Well,
I
since
mean,
then,
isn't the iPhone the most successful product in the history of capitalism?
yes, yes, in the history of humanity,
Yeah.
it's incredible. And but people, they, for some reason, their minds stop at the iPad. The Apple Watch and AirPods are massive businesses, $10 billion a quarter. And that's down, right? $40 billion
Mm-hmm.
a year. Like and these were they, Apple never does necessarily the first in the category, but they definitely define the category. And I think they're amazing devices, both of them. I'm not an Apple Watch user. That's more about my personal sort of preferences and hangups, but I
Garmin
can
guy
totally
here.
recognize and understand why people use them. Uh,
Yep.
I'm a very heavy AirPods user. I personally prop up their AirPods bottom line by showing up at airports and realizing I forgot my AirPods, then paying double the price
And also,
for a new
the
pair.
maddest you've ever gotten at me was during an AirPods argument. We're in a better place these days, but the only time I've ever been like, wow, Ben is really pissed off is when I dared question AirPods. So yes,
No,
you are an AirPods guy through and through.
well, that was a lie. I was definitely mad about antitrust, but anyhow,
That's
continue
true.
on. So maybe it was are the AirPods an antitrust problem? There's one. Let's cook that one up.
Yeah,
But
Lena.
I think
Let's
those are 2
talk.
tremendously innovative products, and those are in the last decade. So we could say, in the last, Apple is still innovative, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that I think the reports of Apple's demise are tremendously overstated. The real problem Apple has that we referred to a couple times is the iPhone's so freaking successful, everything pales in comparison. And so you have an issue where you buy an Apple Watch, you use it for 5 years because, to our what we said before, the iPhone does it all. So
Right.
there's the Apple Watch appropriately only does a couple things. No one wants that to be their core computing device. Yes, they could make it independent of the iPhone. They do have an app store on there, but realistically, no one actually wants to live that way. They want a screen. And so having a watch that fits into that, I think, is fine and makes sense. It also means there's no real reason to upgrade your watch other than the battery dying, right? Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
main thing to do. Same thing with AirPods. And so you have this is an example of some of the perverse incentives that come with, sort of being a public company and wanting the multiple of a growth company, which is different. You could be a company that doesn't grow and you just throw off dividends. You're just going to be worth a lot less because there's a huge premium that comes for growth, and Apple wants to maintain that premium. And the challenge is that they have been inventive, they have been innovative. The categories just only sell $40 billion a year. And so
Right.
which, think about, is sort of a crazy sort of
I mean,
sort of challenge to have.
we went over this a couple months ago talking Apple. The services revenue alone dwarfs the revenue of companies like McDonald's. Like on a quarterly basis, they're making more money from services than McDonald's or Nike or Boeing. I mean, the names of corporations in America that Apple dwarfs just with its services is pretty astounding in its own right. So,
Yeah, I mean, they make like
yeah,
$85 billion. So they make way more on like double on services what they do on AirPods and watches. And
yeah,
I think there's a bit where everyone who wants to gripe about services, and I am first in line. I've been griping about services basically since the day I started Stratechery and the whole App Store sort of approach. That said, and I've written this to be clear, that Apple's focus on services and extracting money distracts them from building great products.
mm-hmm.
There is a bit, if I want to take the same sort of lens, I'll take to say antitrust and say, look, in a noble goal to stop sort of companies getting bigger and stopping acquisitions, you're actually killing innovation. There's a systemic effect here. You can make the case that services are, if you want Apple to remain focused on making great products, to be willing to build something like the Apple Watch and the AirPods and the Vision Pro, which, by the way, is a huge risk and a lot of work went into it. it's actually good that they have this revenue stream that is continually growing, continually getting larger, because it gives them freedom of movement to do stuff that doesn't necessarily pay off on day one. That lets them invest more in the long term. Like that is, if you want to go to the mat defending Apple services revenue, that's the argument I would make, and I do think there's something to it.